All right, so get ready because today we're going deep, really deep into the world of instructional design.
Cool.
And, you might not think about it, but it's something we see every single day.
Mm-hmm.
From online courses to, sometimes those frustrating assembly manuals. Like, how did
Yeah.
they even come up with this?
Right.
But it's all thanks to instructional design. And I bet its history is a lot more interesting than we might think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's got some really unexpected roots. It actually goes all the way back to, well, World War II.
World War II.
Yeah,
Wow, okay.
the U.S. military.
Now that is not something that I would have guessed.
Yeah.
What did soldiers and tanks have to do with how we learn today?
Well, I mean, think about it. They had a massive, massive challenge, right? They needed to train millions of recruits and fast
Oh, for sure.
for all these complex tasks.
Yeah.
I mean, failure just wasn't an option.
Right.
So they had to turn to the experts, psychologists and learning experts, to come up with like a systematic approach to training. So they were drawing on the latest research in psychology and even implemented, rigorous testing to make sure their training programs were actually working.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing how this wartime necessity, laid the groundwork for this whole field of instructional design.
That's incredible. It went from battlefields to classrooms.
Exactly.
Okay, so we had the military-driven approach.
Yeah.
But how did that translate into, the instructional design models that we know today?
Well, that's where these pioneering figures come in. In the post-war years, you had all these brilliant minds like Benjamin Bloom,
Oh, yeah.
B.F. Skinner.
Huge names.
They totally revolutionized how we think about learning and instruction. Like Bloom, for instance, he gave us this incredible framework, Bloom's taxonomy.
Okay.
You've probably heard of it. And it's not just some academic term.
Right.
It's really practical.
Okay.
So imagine you're trying to learn like a new skill, photography.
Yeah.
Bloom's taxonomy helps you break down that skill into these different levels of learning, from understanding the basics to actually applying them creatively.
Gotcha.
Helps you set clear learning goals, measure your progress.
That's super helpful, like a roadmap for learning.
Exactly. It guides you through different stages.
Yeah.
And then you have B.F. Skinner.
Okay.
He was all about programmed instruction. And he was basing this on behaviorist principles.
Right.
His approach was all about breaking down complex tasks into bite-sized chunks.
Okay.
Providing frequent quizzes, giving immediate feedback to reinforce that learning.
Oh, like those language learning apps.
Exactly, like Duolingo.
Yeah.
They're totally using Skinner's principle.
That's why I'm addicted to them.
Right.
They tap right into, that reward system with the little dings.
Exactly. And it wasn't just Skinner, of course. Building on all that, you have Robert F. Major.
Oh.
He came along and emphasized the importance of clear, measurable learning objectives.
Okay.
His ABCD model. It's still widely used today.
I've heard of that one.
It basically makes you think about what you want learners to be able to do after the instruction.
Gotcha.
The conditions under which they should be able to do it, and how you'll know if they've succeeded. So it really takes the guesswork out of learning.
It's like a science experiment. You
Yeah.
got to define your variables and then measure those results.
Exactly.
Okay.
Great analogy. And around that same time, you've got Robert Gagné.
Okay.
And he was the architect of instructional design, gave us the 9 events of instruction.
The 9 events.
Yeah, and those are essentially the building blocks of any effective learning experience, really. So it starts with, getting the learner's attention.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
you state your objectives, right, clearly.
Yep.
And then you got to systematically guide them through the material with practice, feedback, assessments.
Okay.
So his work really cemented this idea that instruction is a deliberate and carefully crafted process.
Right.
Not just random knowledge dumps.
That makes sense. Okay, so we have Bloom's framework, Skinner's reinforcement techniques, Major's focus on objectives, Gagné's blueprint for structuring lessons.
It all fits together.
It does. It really does.
Mhm.
It's amazing how these pieces all fit together, but what happened next? Did instructional design just become this rigid set of rules based on these early pioneers?
Not at all. It actually kept evolving.
Yep.
In the late 1960s, Michael Scriven, he introduced this critical new concept, formative assessment.
Right.
And this is all about testing and refining instructional materials during the development process, not just at the end.
So not waiting until it's too late.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like getting feedback on a draft of a paper before you turn it in.
Makes sense.
Right. Catch errors, make improvements along the way.
That is so important. Course correcting before it's, too late.
Exactly.
Okay, so it seems like it was really evolving into a more iterative and responsive process.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And speaking of iterative approaches, the 1970s saw this surge in all these different instructional design models. And one that stands out is the guaranteed learning model, which was originally called the Instructional Development Learning System, or IDLS.
Okay.
Yeah, mouthful.
Yeah.
It was developed by Peter and Mary Essif.
Okay.
And this model took a very rigorous, data-driven approach, emphasizing meticulous task analysis,
Okay.
criterion reference testing, continuous validation,
Wow.
to ensure that the instruction led to mastery.
No room for ambiguity.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure it worked.
So by this point, I mean, it was a pretty well-established field, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how did it make its way into the classrooms, the training rooms?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. While it was flourishing, in the military and corporate settings,
Right.
its journey into the world of education was a little slower. It wasn't until the 1980s, with, the rise of personal computers,
Okay.
that we really started to see the potential for technology to transform learning environments.
I remember those early days of educational software.
Oh, yeah.
We mostly used computers for, drill and skill exercises.
Yeah, those were the days.
Not the most engaging,
True.
but, I mean, still, a game changer, the personal computer.
Oh, for sure. It opened up a whole new world of possibilities, delivering instruction, creating interactive learning experiences.
It's like going from black and white to color, right?
Exactly. But I'm curious,
Yeah.
was this when instructional design started incorporating insights from cognitive psychology?
That's a great question, because it seems like the growing field of cognitive psychology was starting to have a real impact on instructional design.
Yeah.
Understanding how people learn, how memory works, how we process information.
Right.
That became so central to designing that effective instruction.
Right. Because if you don't understand how the brain learns,
Yeah.
how can you design effective learning experiences?
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
So was this the time when behaviorism started to, be challenged by some of the newer learning theories?
Yeah, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
The 1990s, you saw the rise of constructivism,
Okay.
which really challenged the more traditional, behaviorist approaches.
Right.
Constructivism, it shifted the focus from memorization
Okay.
to actively building knowledge through experience and interaction.
So less about passively absorbing information and more about constructing your own understanding.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
So it really pushed for more authentic learning experiences where learners could grapple with real-world problems,
Right.
collaborate with their peers,
Yeah.
construct their own meaning from the material.
That makes a lot of sense.
So this led to, things like problem-based learning,
Okay.
collaborative learning, inquiry-based learning,
Gotcha.
and even rapid prototyping came about,
Oh, wow.
which allowed for quicker development cycles and, improvements based on learner feedback.
It's turning learners into explorers and problem solvers
Exactly.
instead of just passive recipients of information.
Okay.
That is huge.
Huge shift, but then
The internet happened,
the internet happened.
and that changed everything, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was like a seismic shift for instructional design.
Yeah.
Suddenly, we had this incredible new tool for delivering instruction, creating interactive content, and connecting learners from all over the world,
Yeah.
right? Hypertext, hypermedia, these became the buzzwords.
I remember those days.
We saw, the first wave of online learning platforms starting to emerge.
Right. And with online learning
Mm-hmm.
came this concept of learning design.
Yes.
Where it was all about creating those engaging and effective learning experiences, but leveraging technology.
Yeah, and learning design, it takes a more holistic approach.
Yeah.
It's not just the content, but also the learner, the technology, and the context, where the learning is taking place.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it often blends these different theoretical approaches, drawing on both behaviorist and constructivist principles
Okay.
to create this really effective learning environment.
We've gone from training soldiers to designing interactive online courses.
It's quite a journey.
What a journey. But where does that leave us today? What does the current landscape of instructional design actually look like?
Well, one of the most interesting trends is the emergence of the SME designer.
Okay.
So we're seeing a lot more subject matter experts,
Yeah.
actually taking on instructional design roles.
Interesting.
So instead of just providing content
Yeah.
to instructional designers, they're actually designing the learning experiences themselves.
That is really intriguing. So it's like this blurring of lines between content expertise
Yeah.
and instructional design expertise.
Exactly.
But before we dive deeper into that, I think we need to take a little break.
Okay.
Process all this information.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the world of instructional design.
Looking forward to it. So yeah, these subject matter experts taking on the instructional design thing. It's a pretty fascinating development.
It is. It really is. And, I'm imagining there's some really exciting benefits to having content experts directly involved in how their knowledge is shared and how it's taught.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who knows the content better, right?
Right. But are there any, potential downsides to this shift?
That's a great question. And it's not always a smooth transition.
Right.
Because subject matter experts, yeah, they're brilliant in their fields, but they don't always have that pedagogical training to translate their knowledge into effective learning experiences.
Oh.
So it's kind of like asking a world-class chef to teach a cooking class, but without giving them any guidance on how to structure a lesson, demonstrate those techniques, provide feedback to the students.
Oh, I see where you're going with that. That could be a recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
Even with, the best intentions.
All right.
So how can we make sure that this, SME designer trend actually leads to good outcomes for everyone involved?
Well, I think training and collaboration are key here. Organizations need to invest in giving SMEs the right instructional design skills they need to succeed.
Right.
Think workshops on learning theories, hands-on experience with authoring tools, mentorship from, seasoned instructional designers.
So it's like you're empowering them.
Exactly.
With the right tools and the support.
Yeah. Yeah, and acknowledging that unique expertise that instructional designers bring to the table.
Right, exactly. Okay, so speaking of challenges, though.
Okay.
The survey we talked about, the State of Instructional Design 2024, highlighted how instructional designers, they spend so much time on development and project management that it takes away from analysis and design.
Yeah, this is a big one.
So why is that a problem?
Well, think of it this way. Analysis and design, like laying the foundation of a house.
Okay.
So if you rush through that, you might end up with a structure that's not so stable and it can't really withstand the test of time.
Oh, yeah.
The same goes for instructional design. So that analysis phase is really about identifying those learning needs, defining your objectives, understanding your audience.
Right.
And the design phase is where you map out that learning experience, you choose your strategies, you plan your assessments.
That's a lot.
Right. And if these phases are shortchanged, the whole learning experience suffers.
So it's like trying to build a skyscraper without a blueprint.
Exactly.
You're bound to run into some problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so how can instructional designers actually, reclaim that time to focus on those critical upfront phases?
Well, I think technology is a big part of the solution.
Right.
Tools like AI-powered authoring platforms can help automate some of those time-consuming tasks,
Yeah.
especially those associated with development. And that can free up instructional designers to really focus on those higher-level things: analysis, design, evaluation.
Okay. And, AI seems to be popping up everywhere these days, so
It is.
it's exciting, but a bit overwhelming.
It is a lot.
But beyond that, beyond efficiency, how is AI actually being used to improve the learning experience?
Well, AI is already making, some big waves in the learning world. Like, imagine a learning platform that can analyze your learning style,
Okay.
tracks your progress, and then personalizes the content and even the pace of instruction just for you.
Wow.
I mean, that's the power of AI.
It is.
And it can even provide real-time feedback and coaching.
Okay.
So it adapts to your responses and offers that personalized support.
So it's almost like having, a personal tutor that's available 24/7.
Exactly. And it raises a good question.
Yeah.
What happens to the role of the human instructor?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I don't think AI is going to fully replace, human instructors.
I agree.
We bring, empathy, creativity, and that social emotional intelligence that AI just it can't replicate.
Sure.
But I do see a shift, in our roles.
Definitely.
We'll move away from being that sage on the stage.
Right.
And become more like learning facilitators, guides, mentors.
I like that.
We'll focus on creating, engaging learning environments, fostering collaboration,
Yeah.
providing personalized support.
Right. The human touch.
Yeah, and AI can kind of handle those more routine tasks.
It's a good partnership.
It is. It really is this, partnership between human and artificial intelligence, each leveraging their strengths to create something more powerful.
For sure. But we also have to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right? It's just a tool.
And there are other trends out there that are shaping instructional design, beyond AI.
Like what?
Well, one that's really exciting is this growing awareness of the importance of informal learning.
Yeah.
So for a long time, the focus was on formal learning, like courses, workshops, stuff like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
But research shows that so much of what we learn happens outside of those formal settings.
Oh, for sure. It's like you're constantly learning.
Yeah, through daily interactions, hobbies, online explorations, conversations.
Life is the best teacher, right?
Exactly. We're constantly learning whether we realize it or not.
Right.
So the question is, how can instructional design tap into that?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I think we need to shift from designing courses
Yeah.
to designing learning ecosystems.
Okay.
So it's not just about those standalone learning experiences.
Right.
It's about how to create environments that support continuous learning, collaboration, knowledge sharing.
Less about a one-time event,
Mm-hmm.
more about fostering a culture of learning and discovery.
Exactly.
That's a big shift.
It is. So think about things like curating relevant content, facilitating those communities of practice
Yeah.
where people can share their knowledge and experiences, and even developing tools and platforms to support that social learning and collaboration.
So it's really about creating spaces where people can, connect, share, learn from each other.
Exactly. Both
Right.
online and offline.
That's powerful. But I mean, with all these trends, it's easy to get swept up in all the possibilities and forget about the challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the roadblocks, that instructional designers are facing today?
Well, like we talked about before, time constraints are huge.
Yeah.
Instructional designers are always juggling so many projects,
Right.
tight deadlines, and it leaves little time for that deep thinking and strategic planning,
Makes sense.
which, effective instructional design really requires.
Right.
And on top of that, you often have limited budgets, not enough resources, lack of organizational support.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Instructional designers need to be masters of time management
Yeah.
and resourcefulness and diplomacy.
It's a lot of hats to wear.
It is.
But even with all that, there's still this sense of optimism and excitement about the future of the field.
Oh, for sure.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because we're seeing this really cool convergence of factors that are just creating all these incredible opportunities for innovation,
Or what?
advances in technology, a deeper understanding of how people learn, and even just growing recognition of the importance of lifelong learning.
Yeah, it's all coming together
It is. It really is.
to transform how we think about learning.
It's like all the pieces are falling into place for a learning revolution.
It's an exciting time to be in the field.
It really is. So for our listeners who are thinking about, going into the field, or they're just starting out in instructional design,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them?
Be curious, be adaptable, and be passionate about learning.
Okay.
This field is constantly evolving, so you got to be a lifelong learner yourself.
Right.
Embrace the new technologies, explore different learning theories, and stay connected to the instructional design community.
It's really not just about mastering a set of skills.
Right.
It's about cultivating this mindset of growth and exploration.
Exactly. You got it.
That's fantastic advice.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Try new things, learn from those mistakes, always be looking for ways to improve.
So learn by doing.
Exactly. And as you gain that experience, reflect on what worked, what didn't,
Oh, yeah.
and why. It's all about continuous improvement, so embrace that feedback.
This has been such a great conversation.
Oh, thanks.
Exploring the world of instructional design.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Really demystifying this complex field, talking about its history and giving us a glimpse into its future.
A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I think our listeners are really feeling inspired, to learn more about instructional design.
That's great.
But before we wrap things up, I'm curious, you touched on this earlier.
Yeah,
Instructional design, is it an art? Is it a science?
that's a great question.
How do those two come together to create those, really great learning experiences?
Yeah, it's funny, instructional design really does live at this intersection of creativity and data.
Okay.
So on the science side, we have all the learning theories,
Yeah.
research on how the brain works, cognition,
Right.
data analysis, and that informs how we structure the learning experiences, how we give feedback, how we assess understanding.
Okay.
So it's really understanding the mechanics of learning.
So it's like having this, toolkit filled with all these strategies and techniques that really work.
Exactly. But then the art comes in.
Okay, the art.
Yeah, because you got to bring all those strategies to life in a
Yeah.
way that engages people, makes them curious, and makes them want to keep learning.
Gotcha.
So it's about storytelling, crafting those visuals, designing interactions that just feel intuitive, and creating that connection with the learner.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's like weaving together the threads of knowledge and emotion to create this tapestry
I love that.
that's both informative and inspiring.
It really is. It's powerful.
And that's what makes instructional design so cool.
Yeah.
It's this constant dance between, rigor and creativity,
so good.
data and intuition.
Yeah.
And the best instructional designers, they've mastered both.
They really have. Well, we've talked about it a lot today. It's really clear that, people are drawn to this field.
Yeah,
It's challenging, it's innovative,
definitely.
and ultimately, it's about helping others.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired and want to, learn more about instructional design or even explore it as a career,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give them?
I would say just be a learner.
Okay.
Be a voracious learner.
Yeah.
Immerse yourself in the field.
Okay.
Read, explore, go to conferences, connect with other instructional designers.
Yeah, the community.
There's a ton of knowledge out there, and the learning never stops.
That's great advice. But beyond, reading and studying, how can people get that hands-on experience?
Just jump in and start experimenting.
Okay.
Volunteer, to design some materials for a local organization.
Okay.
Create an online course about something you're passionate about.
Yeah,
Help a friend learn something new.
that's great advice.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
So it's really about learning by doing.
Exactly. And as you go, reflect on what worked, what didn't work, and why.
Right.
It's all about that continuous improvement, so embrace the feedback.
Well, this has been an amazing journey,
Thanks.
exploring this world of instructional design.
That's been a lot of fun.
You've really, taken something so complex and made it
I
understandable,
appreciate that.
given us a glimpse into, where it came from, where it's going.
It's an exciting field.
It is. It really is. And for our listeners out there, remember that whether you're, designing a big training program or just helping a friend learn something new,
Mm-hmm.
the principles of instructional design can really help you create those effective and engaging learning experiences.
It really can.
So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep making that positive impact, one learner at a time.
Awesome.
Until next time.